This is the third London Bridge attacker. Yusuf Zagba was an Italian national. He was born in Morocco. He was 22 and had been working at a restaurant in East London. There are multiple reports in the Italian media that he was stopped last year as he tried to travel from Italy to Syria, and at another time he was searched at an airport and Islamic State group material was found on his phone. We're also told by the Italian media that the Italian authorities tipped off the UK about him. Now, Zagba was born in the north of Italy, in Bologna. The BBC has spoken to one of his relatives.
He went to London. He was away for 2 or 3 months, then he came back. He was here for a month and then he told his mum, I'm leaving because here there's nothing and in London I can work.
Well, this man who, I apologise, I said he was born in Bologna. He wasn't. He was born in Morocco, but his family come from that part of Italy. And today we've now had 3 of the 7 victims' names. James McCullen was British, Christy Archibald was Canadian, and Kirsty Bowden was an Australian nurse who worked at a hospital close to London Bridge. Today, a minute's silence was held across the UK for those who lost their lives. While members of the emergency services gathered on London Bridge and across the country, people stopped, despite the weather, to pay their respects to those who died. One of the people who was injured on Saturday night is called Roy Lana. He confronted the attackers and was stabbed multiple times. He's been talking today.
I've got slashes to the arms and hands, stabbed in the side of my stomach and chest. I've got slashes on my neck, head. I don't know why I did it, but I went back and then you're not getting in here. Millwall, in an Arsenal top on. And I was stopping them getting into the restaurant to stop them attacking the children and families in there. It happened in about 20 seconds. As I got them out in the black and blue, the police were firing on them straight away. So, for me stopping them getting into and hurting more people, and for them being shot around me, I feel quite proud of myself doing what I did.
Well, we now know the names of all 3 attackers, but we know much more about Khurram Butt than the other 2 men. He was 27, married with 2 children. He'd worked at KFC. More recently, he'd been a customer services assistant for the London Underground. You can see him there in his work uniform. He'd also featured in a Channel 4 documentary. In this clip from that programme, he's the only one without his face blurred.
Speak to you
no, I don't think so. There's no personal details being given. No. Behave, don't touch me. Don't
stop for a minute.
I'm under arrest.
You're detained.
Detained for what?
You're detained.
Are you insane?
For the
Are you
purpose of
insane?
the search.
What search? You're not searching me. Are you insane?
Search. Search for what? Search for what?
Why are you touching him for?
What offence is he in? What detained for the purpose of the search?
Why?
We've received information.
Why?
I'm talking to you. Listen.
Why?
Don't talk over me. Listen.
Who gave you the information?
A member of public.
Which member of public?
You're
lying! You're lying!
No, I'm not.
You're a liar!
You're all detained.
Yes.
You're
Don't touch me,
detained
man.
for the
Don't
purpose
touch
of the
me.
search.
Don't touch me, man.
If you resist, I will use reasonable force.
Let him search you, 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 let him search you.
Yes?
Let him search you.
Okay,
Search
I'll
me,
be
please.
making a record.
Okay.
Well, Khurram Butt was a British citizen, but he was born in Pakistan. Some of his family still live there, and there are some relatives in a northern city in Pakistan called Jhelum. It's there that the BBC's Secunda Kamandi has been speaking to his uncle.
Khurram Butt was born in Pakistan, but moved to London as a child. He only visited Pakistan twice. His uncle Nasir Dar said on his last trip in 2013, he noticed he had become more religious, but not extreme.
When he came, he was wearing shalwar kameez. He started offering prayers, very punctuality in prayers, and he had a beard also. Before that, these symptoms were not found in him.
Nasir Dar found out about Butt's involvement on the night of the attack. Butt's mother had seen this photo on the news and recognized her son.
I received a call from UK, from sister's home, and she was weeping, and she only said that there some happened with Khurram. I switched on my television. I started to listen to hearing, to seeing BBC, CNN. Sometimes they show flash of that person overstepping. I also recognize, oh, this is a Khurram.
Well, that's the connection to Pakistan. There is also a connection to America with regards to Khurram Butt. It comes from the state of Michigan because it's reported he was a follower of this cleric, Ahmed Musa Jibril, who is known to preach jihad against what he describes as unbelievers. Well, Gordon Carrera is the BBC's security correspondent. As we learn more about these three men and the degree to which the UK authorities were aware of them, that of course is raising difficult questions for the UK authorities, particularly with reference to Khurram Butt. Here's Gordon on that.
A number of people had reported him to the authorities because they were concerned about signs of extremism, about him challenging them at public places. There was this evidence he took part in a documentary about extremists. It was filmed, clearly identifying him as such, consorting with people who were known extremists, well known to the authorities. And we do know that he was put under investigation just under 2 years ago by MI5 and the police. They looked into him. They didn't see him planning an attack, but they did keep him under investigation, but he was not at the top list of their priorities, which meant he didn't have the kind of surveillance resources which meant they were able to spot the plot which eventually unfolded.
And what about the man who's been named today? We've got these reports in the Italian media that he was stopped. They looked at his phone and they found IS material. People will be astonished he was then able to come and live and work in London.
That's right. So with Yusuf Zagba, the issue again is about what was known about him and when. With him, he was stopped at the airport, apparently trying to go to Turkey, the suspicion to Syria, with extremist material on some of his devices. And the Italian authorities say they told the British authorities about this. Now, Britain won't comment on that, whether it went to MI5, the Overseas Intelligence Service, MI6, or some police service. It's not entirely clear who it went to, but it does seem there was some kind of warning about him. And so that's led to more questions about should he have been put under more surveillance. He was clearly known in some way to the authorities, but he wasn't under surveillance or what they call a subject of interest, so someone who was put under surveillance.
Well, as we discussed on yesterday's programme, Prime Minister Theresa May has said there are too many safe spaces online where extremist content could be seen and shared. And now that we know at least 2 of the London Bridge attackers had consumed content from radical Islamists, that issue is in the spotlight even more so. Let's learn more about it. This is Elizabeth Kendall from Oxford University, who monitors jihadist material.
Well, you can certainly still find extremist material online, but it's not as easy as it used to be. Let me give you an example. There's a video, which I won't name, by a prominent militant extremist preacher, which came out recently. And just before coming here, I tried to Google it, find it, watch it again on YouTube, and it wasn't there, it had been taken down. Now, a year or so ago, there's no way that that would have been taken down. It would have been around. It would have been much easier to find.
Now, here at the BBC, we have been able to find that video, which Elizabeth was referring to, but only on an online platform called Telegram. Here's Elizabeth explaining how Telegram works.
The most useful thing about Telegram is that, as the name suggests, you're sending messages. And normally that works via groups in the militant jihad context. So you can sign up to a group, you can join it, but you can't find that group very easily because you can't just type in and search for the name of the group, like the Islamic State or Qa'idat al-Jihad. You have to know what their user name is, their user address is, before you can join the group. And that's normally quite a complicated collection of letters and numbers that you would not be able to guess. They are downloading videos directly from Telegram. You no longer need to use links to external sites as you would normally for longer videos in other applications like Twitter. You can actually do everything on Telegram. If I were a curious wannabe militant jihadi, I would probably find a way of still getting hold of this material online. It's not as easy, but with a will, there's still a way. It needs much greater policing.
Well, bearing in mind that last point, I wanted to find out whether the British security services would like further regulation of the internet to help their work. Here's Gordon Carrera again.
I don't think they so much focus on the regulation and the policy side. I think they do see a problem with internet radicalisation and online material. I think what a lot of people, though, know is that regulation is not always straightforward. These companies are often based overseas. They're not subject always straightforwardly to UK law. In some countries, particularly the US, there's freedom of speech requirements. For all those reasons, I think what they hope is that the companies themselves will take more action rather than requiring regulation, that they will do more to sometimes use their own technology to find extremist material and then take it down.
Thanks to Gordon. Now, in a few minutes on Outside Source, we'll hear what